Gronk's Apple investment, Apple Card and interest rates, and AirTags and airlines. Again, this is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by 1Password Extended Access Management. It is security for the way we work today. Find out more at onepassword.com/MacVoices. So let's move back to stories here, because I know that this is the one that Mark has up on his background, so I want to make sure we definitely get to this. And Webb, somehow I feel like you'll have commentary on this, because Mr. Gronkowski of the Kansas City Chiefs calls Apple his best ever investment.
Gronk, no.
How about the Chiefs?
What am I saying? What am I saying? Oh my God, I'm sorry. No, scratch that.
The Patriots.
The Patriots. Oh boy.
And the Bucks for a couple years.
Yes. I'm not that big a football fan, apparently. But he had an investment advisor who said, buy Apple. So he did. And then he kind of forgot about it. And it's turned out really well for him. Mark, you want to elaborate on that a little bit, especially with your chart?
Yes. So I think the article says, he was building a house, and the builder, kept raving about how great Apple was, and Gronk, invested $69,000 in Apple shares, and then, got playing football and forgot all about it. And, somehow later, I don't know exactly when, he realized he still held it. And, so we don't know exactly when he bought it in 2014. So sort of taking the the average price, between the high and low, of whatever it is, 23.46 or something, to today's closing price, he has 10.3x return, and all the articles, they have Gronk, saying, "Oh, this guy is great. He told me about this thing, and he gave me more than the money back that I spent on building the house, by taking his advice." And I think it's just a testament for the long-term growth of Apple, and we've talked about that on various other shows, and I've had other Apple stock performance charts in the background, but this is a way to personalize it and relate it to professional sports. And Chuck, it's Brady and Gronk. It's sort of like Montana and Rice, or Mahomes and Kelsey. There's some of these just great football pairs. Isn't that right, Webb?
Yes, sir. Yeah, and the Chiefs are what, 11-1? As I recall?
I heard that. And apparently the 49ers hands and cleats don't work in the snow, because they were slipping and sliding, and just dying in Buffalo in the field covered in snow last Sunday.
Yeah,
in 2014, I had $69,000 lying around, and just wished I would have gotten this advice.
Yeah, well, the earlier you bought in, the better you did. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't one of those stories like someone found 90s Apple stock and is now a multimillionaire. But still, that is a phenomenal return on investment in a time where Apple has become a mature company.
Yeah.
Right. They're so big, they're now a target all over the world. And we may have other stories about that. I'm not sure if I saw that in our thing here, or if it was on one of the other, Slack discussion groups.
Yeah. We'll get to it. Because that's the way it feels, that they're a target on for everything.
Remember when Guy Kawasaki had his daily blog letter? So,
sure.
Well, that's when he convinced me to buy Apple stock. So would that be the 90s maybe? So anyway, that's when I bought it, and it is the best performing stock I've ever owned, including my own. So anyway, it's the thing that legends are made out of. So how Apple stock performance has gone. So
Yeah, I mean, that's it. And it almost doesn't matter when you bought in. Even if you bought in later, it still had great performance, just maybe
Yeah.
not 10x. So, and the dividends, unfortunately, since we
Yeah.
lost Steve and they sort of changed their attitudes, the dividends are nice to see. So since we're on money, let's talk a little bit about the Apple Card savings rate and how it compares. This is one of those things that it sort of is what it is. Yeah, you can get some better rates, but when I look at the better rates, I mean, there are a couple that I recognize. There's some that I'm not going to say they're shady because I don't know that they're shady, but they just seem like there's some risk maybe potentially associated with them, and for not that much more of a return. So there's some other things on there. The 5% open bank by Santander. I want to explore a little more because I haven't heard about that. So, and I'm a Santander customer. So it'd be nice if they would tell me these things.
Well, you assume banks have decent marketing, what planet are you living on?
Well, okay, yeah, that's a fair
I,
point, Mark.
yeah, I don't want to sound critical of you, Chuck, but it's just that, they always talk about how great it's all about the relationship, but they never do anything except try to get you to deposit their funds.
Yeah,
At least in my humble experience.
I have relationships with a couple banks, and there's one in particular that I'm really impressed with from the relationship standpoint. And then there are a couple others that not so much. So, but I was curious though to see with this group and the chat room too, given that you can get maybe a slightly better return from some of the other options. How do you does the ability to manage that savings account, transfer money in and out so easily using the wallet app? Once you get it set up, I mean, it is literally like seconds to move money around. Does that influence your thoughts on which accounts you use versus some of the bank apps, and the fact that with the Apple app it seems to happen almost instantaneously, where with some of the others, depending on who they're dealing with, if you're dealing in and out of there, that it can take a day, it can take 2 days. There's a bit more float going.
So
Right.
there's a whole bunch of issues there. Let's unravel them, one by one. I think the global theme is, given the convenience of Apple Wallet and associated services, is that does that persuade people to invest in a savings account through Apple? Is that the question you're asking, Chuck?
Mark, I guess is it a factor for this group? Do you put a monetary value, even if it's just a mental monetary value, on the ease of use? Because Apple has definitely taken away a lot of the friction, at least based on my experiences with other banks. And so I'm curious, am I the only one that values that to some degree? Now, half a percentage point, maybe not. If I can get, but trying to get that extra half a percentage point can be tough. So depending on the terms of the others, where this is a money market that you aren't restricted, you can move it in and out freely.
Yeah, well, I'm happy, and I use the Apple Card, basically, for certain set of monthly purchases, and I accumulate, the cashback benefits there. I don't use it significantly for concentrating cash for interest. I do that through the broker. So, but it's really really attractive, and so I could see for a lot of people, if they might not have a brokerage account or something set up that is easy for them, or if they have a bad broker that makes it really difficult, that Apple does make it very very attractive. And the fact that the rate now is 4.1 versus like 4.55 6 months ago, that's just due to the macro environment. Interest rates are coming down. So, I think that's the reality.
Yeah. Let's see. We have a lot of people that want to comment on this one. Let's see. Brian, you're up.
Thanks. I just have a couple quick thoughts on this. When I was looking through, I noticed obviously it's the savings account as opposed to, say, checking accounts. And so when you asked and you posed the question about the ease of moving that money around back and forth and utilizing those funds, I think of more of that liquid money of spending it and having quick access to it more so in a checking account. At least how I'm using my savings. I too have the Apple Card. I'm getting the cash back, that type of thing too, and it's nice to have that. Was it now 4.1%? And then looking at some of the other options, I'm definitely swayed to move different funds around. There's other websites that publish, like bankrate.com and stuff like that you can always check out on a daily basis how the numbers are changing. But my other thought was too, there is a certain factor of the ease of use of moving that money and having it quickly accessible, whether that's through like an ATM or that type of thing. And so, like you, I wasn't necessarily super familiar with some of these banks. They weren't really known to me. So I did a quick chat GPT search, and I was like saying, which of these tend to have branches and places you can walk into and locations, and not very many of them. But it's again, I'm using it and thinking of it from a savings perspective. It's not something I'm paying my monthly bills with, but maybe something that maybe I'm saving up for, or something that I'm going to move money quarterly, that type of thing. In which case, you can definitely link these banks to a credit. For instance, I use a credit union. You can link them to a credit union and have that money moved over within a day or two. So,
yeah, you make a good point, Brian, that this is not a checking out. There's not a bill pay service here. So you do have to have, another bank that offers those in conjunction with this. And you're always going to look at what that bank has as a rate. But right now, locally, for a money market, without a commitment for some period of time for a CD or, minimum balance and all that stuff, this has everything beat locally for me.
Mm-hmm.
Marty.
Yeah, I don't have the monetary sophistication that I think people on the panel have. I'm sort of a set it and forget it guy. So when my Apple savings account is there for me to accumulate money in it, and occasionally I move things into it, but rarely move stuff out of it unless it's a large purchase. So when I got the Vision Pro headset, that was moved over so I could do the Vision Pro headset and pay for it in its entirety. Other than that, I just kind of let it go and sit there, and maybe I'll forget about it. And 11 years from now, I'll have $600,000 in it, like Gronk.
There you go.
Gronk is Musk. Gronk is the player.
Ooh, I think we touched a nerve on Mr. Fuccio there. This edition of MacVoices is supported by 1Password Extended Access Management. It is security for the way we work today. Find out more at onepassword.com/MacVoices. 2024 is coming to a close, and you're getting ready to take a little time off. Or are you? IT never takes time off because the bad guys never take time off. They are looking for every avenue in, every vulnerability they can find, every chink in your security armor. That's why you should be looking at 1Password Extended Access Management as we start 2025. It takes care of securing every single login on every single app, makes sure that you see all those apps, and manages all those devices to cut down on security risks. Your users have been taking shortcuts across security with less than desirable credentials. It's time to tell them, get off my lawn. 1Password Extended Access Management lets you do that in an organized, consistent fashion that puts you in control. I want you to take a little time as you plan for 2025 and visit onepassword.com/MacVoices to learn all about 1Password Extended Access Management. That's 1password.com/MacVoices. It's your key to security in 2025. 1password.com/MacVoices. Thanks to 1Password for their support of MacVoices. Ben?
Kind of echoing a little bit of what Brian and Marty said. To me, with a savings account, the ease of use does not matter to me. Getting that cash back, having it go into that savings account, and having that high interest rate that will accumulate over time, because this is not a now thing. This is it's one source of money that's lower risk, that will help me, that would potentially help me reach retirement. But the one question I have with this, since Apple and Goldman Sachs partnership is going away, we have to wonder what's going to eventually happen to these savings accounts. Will they stay with Goldman Sachs? Will they be transferred to Apple's new partner if there is one? There's a lot of questions that need to be answered that just have not been yet.
I think that's a great point, Ben. You're right. We have a lot of questions, but on the other hand, it's not like this kind of thing is not going to just shut down overnight and say, "Oh yeah, your money's frozen or you can't get to it." The regulators would never allow that. So, if you can get a couple extra points, why not? Let it sit there and build. Mm-hmm. Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that we just mentioned about when and if the partnership ends. It's been radio silence with that for well over a year now. So, I mean, I'm curious to know what's taking so long at this point, other than Goldman Sachs can't get out of it. So, but looking at this list, I've done business with a number of these banks, like Allied and Barclays, and some to name a few. And I like the fact that it's almost instantaneous. I can transfer money from that Apple Card savings, like you want to make a big purchase. I had to buy my Vision Pro. I was able to transfer the money right into my account, and it showed up the same day. So I didn't have to even mess around with it. I've had experiences with other banks. I won't name them. It's not one of these are listed here. Like when we bought a car, I wanted to have an account because that's where the carbon payment's from. It took me like almost 5 days to finally get the funds transferred into an account. So that tells me that type of bank isn't very sophisticated to getting transfers done in a timely fashion when you're sending it from an external account. So that tends to matter to me. I mean, I've got a number of accounts for various reasons, and Apple Card savings, once it's linked to it, any one of those banks that I deal with, the money transfers like same day in most cases.
Yeah, and to be fair, they warn you that it can take up to 3 or 4 or 5 business days. I mean, there's always a little caveat there, but I'm with you. I've never had it take more than 24 hours. Not at no time. So whether that's attributed to the receiving bank or the other bank on the other end of the transaction, I better say, or the Apple savings account. But again, with you, Dave, when I've had experience with other banks, there's always that float time in between that somebody's making money on the money that I'm moving around and I'm not. Webb, did you want to jump in?
Actually, I've been sitting here getting my card registered. So, yeah, I'm a lot like Marty. If I was to spend my time chasing interest rates all the time, I'd be spending all my time chasing interest rates, and I have better things to do with my time, quite honestly. So 4.1 versus say your Santander at 5. Okay, so it's 4 points or 0.4, 4 basis points. It's okay, but I'd rather have something more consistent than something that moves around a lot. And I'm not saying these move around a lot. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So, and sometimes it's a teaser rate to get you in, and then they'll hold it there for 3 months, 6 months, whatever, and then get to more market rates. So, so that's what I do. I need something consistent. I'm real happy with my Apple Card savings. It's not my main savings. It's that's what I get for buying the rewards I get for buying a new Mac Mini, and using the Apple Card. And so, it don't get me wrong. It's money and I take it seriously, but I don't chase it. So that's kind of my thinking on the subject. So
I feel like this one just needs to be told. Oops, I put it in the wrong place. Sorry about that. Let's put it here and over here too. An I don't mind calling him out because it's in the article. United Airline told a passenger his bag was lost, even though his AirTags said it was nearby, and United wouldn't help him. They said, it was gone. Somebody must have taken it. He knew it was close, and he decided not to pursue it, and he never did get the bag back. So, I feel like there's a lesson here. One of those lessons might be, question United if you fly United, but more importantly, if the AirTag says it's there, then, be a little bit, maybe be a lot more than a little aggressive at insisting that they find your bag. Because this just sounds like somebody just blew them off and like, no, we use our system. It's better. And it wasn't.
Yes. I think this is why AirTags are now being integrated into that system.
Ben, I have not. Do you know something I don't? Because I have not seen anything about the integration of AirTags in.
In a future update, you'll be able to share your AirTags with airlines.
Okay. Did not know that.
Yeah, they're shareable, and you can share them with other members of your family, people within your group. But as Ben has said, the ability to share it means it could be then shared with various enterprises, i.e. airlines, to be able to help locate your luggage. I put an AirTag on my luggage early on when they first came out, and I thought, well, this will be cool. But I bought a really cheap little tag case for the AirTag, and my luggage came through, but the AirTag is still going around or went around on the luggage conveyor belt for about 3 months. I'd sit here in Kent and track it over in Cleveland, and it was somewhere back in the bags. And I'd go over to the airport every time and get closer to it. And I would say, well, it's got to be behind that wall. But, it was just the AirTag at that point. So I'd go and visit it every couple of weeks when I was picking people up at the airport. Eventually it died or they threw it out.
I don't even know. I've never heard of anybody going to visit an AirTag, Marty. So,
Marty, you need more friends. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
I thought my social life was pathetic.
Hey, I'm with a group of people right now. So,
yeah,
takes one to know one, I guess.
Well, look at the group of people you're with. I'm
Yes.
sorry, but I've right away I've put AirTag, but I've never even thought about putting it on the outside, Marty. I always stick it inside in the luggage, and Fortunately, I've never had to push anybody to say, hey, my luggage is missing and I know where it is. But I always know when I get off the plane, yep, it's somewhere close here. So that always makes me feel better until I have it in hand.
Yeah.
I was just going to add regarding this airline story that you put on that I'd go to another customer service rep. I'd say that person was having just a bad day, didn't want to mess with anybody, probably has a lot of people complaining to him about lost luggage, and just go on, bye-bye, so I'd just go to someone else.
Yeah, and according to the article, if you went to enough bad airline service people, you could just rack up the $200 travel credit. Each one would say no and then give you another $200 travel credit.
I like the way you think, Marty. I hadn't even considered that. I want my bag back, but if I can, I'll get,
As many $200 travel
I
credits
think
as
they
you
would
can get.
catch on to that pretty quick. I don't think that would happen.
To Webb's point, depends on the customer service rep. Something that Mark had sort of referenced a little bit earlier, Brazil now is saying that the App Store's anti-steering rules declared illegal in Brazil. And it just seems like Apple is under the gun with everybody, and I have to wonder now, the fines they're trying to impose are not, oh my God, that's only, I guess, maximum is $43,000. But it just seems like everybody's trying to, hit Apple up for a little bit of change or a lot of change on things. There was another ruling in the EU, I guess, the developer suit can move forward, that there was Apple was appealing that and trying to object to it, and it was set aside, and they're going to move forward with that. So whoever said it earlier, Apple's now a target.
Yeah.
I mean, the rules what was acceptable when Apple was a small underdog. They're now a gigantic company. So business as usual might not fly anymore in pretty much 90% of the world.
Yeah.
And
I
to
feel
think
like
it all started with Michael Dell saying, shut it down and give the shareholders their money. It started there, and
they gave the shareholders a lot of money.
yeah.
Yeah. That's, Webb, I hadn't thought about it in those terms, but you're right. That is sort of where it started. Let's see. Okay,
Right.
so this one
as now Apple is the most, their market cap is like $3.5 trillion, maybe
Yeah.
3.6. And Dell is stuck down, I think, around 400 billion. So be careful of just making a flipping comment, because stuff comes back to haunt you.
Yes, but dude, your hospital might be getting a Dell.
Yeah.
If HP doesn't give them a good deal.
Get a Dell.
I'm looking at 2 Dell monitors right now. So
they make great
those are good.
monitors.
yeah.
They make great monitors. But that reminded me of something I wanted to bring up when we were talking about the Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales, that everybody out there has a separate category for Apple. You don't see separate categories for Intel. You occasionally might see something that mentioned specifically Chromebooks, but it's all just computers or laptops. But then they have an Apple category. I think that only says something positive about Apple, but it's just an interesting fact that everybody seems to, at the very least, want to consider an Apple product in whatever category, as opposed to some of the others. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.